This is Barbara Ellistad with Mesquite Citizen Journal, and we're here today with Mesquite City Councilman Gino Withelder as part of our series on the first 100 days of the new administration. Gino has been on City Council now a full 2 years. He was originally elected in 2009 and is going on his third year. So his questions are going to be a little different than what we've asked the brand new city council and the new mayor. And it's going to be more of a comparison between the council members that he was a part of prior to July 1, 2011, and the council that he's part of now. So talk a little bit about the contrasts, the differences, and even the similarities between the council that you were a part of prior to July 1, 2011, and the council that you're part of now.
Well, thank you, Barbara. I believe the current city council, comprised of the three new members and as well as the new mayor, we seem to be I'll use this term, a more cohesive unit. Mm-hmm. It seems like we have a tendency to be a little more analytical. There's not the perceived derisiveness there was on the previous council, and
Okay.
we pretty much act as one, if I may use that.
Okay.
We have a tendency to explore things a little more thoroughly, I believe, and with the addition of George and Craig and Mr. Lippman, we all come from different backgrounds, so therefore we have different approaches to
Very much different.
to the issues. So I think it's a much more comprehensive review of issues.
Yeah, okay. Well, there's been quite a few changes made in the first 100 days. The council has opened up tech reviews to the public. They brought back the school crossing guards. They now, tomorrow night, October 11th city council meeting, you're going to entertain a change to the ordinance that will allow the Boy Scout food drives to take place again door to door that we had before. So what are your feelings and your thoughts about some of those changes? I mean, there's just been quite a few of them in the early part, the first 100 days of the new administration.
Well, if you could direct those questions one by one so I don't get lost in the mix here.
Okay, talk about tech reviews, opening tech reviews to the public.
I've got mixed emotions about tech reviews. I guess the public had a perception that previous to opening to the public that we had some sort of an agenda or some sort of a hidden agenda going on that was not made public, and I can assure you that was not ever the case.
Because you were part of the old tech reviews where you were only 2 council at a time in the room with staff.
Exactly.
Okay, and now it's all 5 council and mayor.
It's all 5 of us together, and does it bother me? No. Do I think it's necessary? No. But whatever the people want is something that I will subscribe to.
Okay. Talk about bringing back the school crossing guards. You were part of the council that eliminated the school crossing guards, and now this council has brought them back.
Well, again, that's another topic I've got mixed emotions on. I'm certainly for all children's safety, without a doubt, but when it comes to the actual crossing guards per se, I never had a crossing guard when I went to school. Of course, we didn't have the traffic that we have now, but we've got 15% unemployment in the city. What happens to parents driving or walking their kids to school or walking them across a street? Do we need paid crossing guards? I'm not sure. If we need them, I absolutely subscribe to the theory that we pay them. But again, it's kind of a hot potato with me, and I've got mixed emotions.
Yeah. Okay. Well, are you glad? It sounds like you're.
I'm happy to see them back, and again, I do subscribe for children's safety, without a doubt.
Okay. All right. What about rescinding the code of conduct? You lived with the code of conduct for the first 2 years you were on council, but you also voted to rescind the code of conduct. So that issue in particular.
I did indeed vote to rescind it, and I think I made the statement from the dais that we have a written set of rules. We're obviously under NRS statutes. We took an oath of office when we were sworn in to subscribe to those standards, those lofty standards that we're held to.
Right.
To have another piece of arbitration put in front of me telling me what I must do, I didn't think was necessary, because, as I said from the bench, it's more a code of common sense than anything else.
Yes, you did say that.
And I don't need anybody to tell me how I should act accordingly.
Yeah. Okay. What about the allowing Boy Scouts to do their door-to-door food drives again? That issue is on October 11th. Council tomorrow night changing the ordinance to allow that again. That was a pretty contentious issue back in 2008, before you were part of the council with your election in 2009.
Exactly. I believe that charitable institutions such as the Boy Scouts should have the right, if they subscribe to the HOAs and the HOA people give them permission to enter those restricted communities.
Right.
I think it should be done. If they, of course, don't break the law and don't disturb anybody or disturb the peace and quiet of the residents, I think it's a done deal. I think we should allow it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, we'll see how that issue turns out tomorrow night. This tape will be published after that, so we'll kind of know the answer. During the campaign, even though you were not a candidate, a lot of the campaign issues focused on the $2 million budget deficit that the city was projecting for this current fiscal year now. So talk about your concerns with the city's financial situation. How does it look to you after the first 3 months of the current fiscal year? How does the budget look? What do you see coming up?
Well, I think all the department heads and staff, as well as council, we've looked at every imaginable way to cut budgets and cut the deficit. Department heads have done a fabulous job of maintaining.
Okay, that's good news.
It is. They've worked diligently. We've made some reductions in staff, obviously.
Uh-huh.
And of course, we always have the problem with the unions, and the unions are a big problem with our budgets.
Right.
So if we work within the constraints that were handed down with the unions and within our employment agreements with the unions, with the regular city staff,
okay,
I think we can probably maintain that level that we're working at.
okay.
And I must congratulate city staff. They've done a wonderful job.
Oh, that's good to hear. You know, I know just from the little bit of interaction that I have with the city staff, it appears that they are being very diligent.
Without a doubt.
About spending the money, and they're very aware of the projected deficits. But in the past, developing budgets and making spending decisions sometimes seem to be more of a seat of the pants affair than a well thought out process. At various times, the new mayor, Mark Weir, has talked about improving these processes by using more quantitative measures. Have you explored that approach? Do you have different ideas? Do you support the mayor's approach in using quantitative measures?
I think Mark has done a marvelous job in the first 100 days. First of all, he's a businessman. He understands the approach to maintaining the community as a whole. Mm-hmm. And I think his implementation of those ideas that he's come up with, if and when they all come together, will be a marvelous addition to the community.
Okay. What about using more quantitative measures for spending decisions, most of all, I guess?
Well, I believe if he can implement those things, they will work. I really haven't studied it that well, so I really can't go into it that deeply.
Okay. All right. Any other ideas, like looking a little closer at user fees in the rec center, the airport, some of the other departments that charge user fees? Any ideas about looking at those a little more closely? A lot of them haven't been updated since 2007.
Yeah, I think that's going to be coming to council. We're going to be kind of scrutinizing all those fees, and maybe not at one time, but we're going to go over them individually to get an idea of where we are, or where we are and where we should be. Again, they haven't been updated in 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
And they probably should be looked at without a doubt. So I think you will see some increases in some of those fees.
Okay.